So today's topic is going to be continuation again of what we did last week. So last week we talked about the holiday season, how you schedule your time, and again, how you get what you want. Now, as I mentioned last week, we're going into a very unique situation, which is we are going into a brand new decade. And if you're lucky, most people have the ability to go into 7 or 8, maybe 9 at the most decades in their entire life. So we're going into a brand new decade hitting 2020. And my hallucination is if you're watching this today, you are not exactly where you want to be in life. And so I put together this series so that you guys can focus on the different components and build one week after the next into making sure you get what you want in 2020. My question is this: how many of you guys have in years past either A, put together some resolutions of things that you wanted to achieve that next year? So you start thinking this time of year, especially towards the end of this month, about what you want to achieve the next year. And my question to you is, how many of you guys get to, as the average, January 15th and realize that you have already given up? And I'm looking in the chat window to see how many of you guys are honest. Again, how many of you guys actually are willing to admit and say, like me, that you've had years in the past when you have not achieved what you wanted to achieve? What happens is we go right back to our habits. We go right back to our same patterns of activity, and that's what human nature does. And so if we start, let's say, the end of the year and have all these aspirations, all these dreams, all these visions of what we want to have possible to happen, and we think about this time of year as far as change, it gives us a delineation to say, hey, this next year is going to be different. I want my life to be different. I want to surround myself with the right types of people. I want to have the body that I've always dreamt of. I want to have the money. I want to have all these different things in the lifestyle. So we create all of these dreams and visions and things we want to accomplish, but the reality is 99% of people don't do it. 99% of people don't follow through. So my responsibility and my commitment to all of you is that if you are willing to, over the next few weeks, to plug into me, I'm going to give you all of the ingredients, all of the tools, and it's not just going to be about you on your own island doing this yourself. It's going to be about all of us supporting you and helping you to achieve your goals. So how many of you guys are willing to do that? How many of you guys are willing to actually do the work that it takes to achieve success? Because the reality is it's very, very simple. All of this is very, very simple. And when I share this with you, you're going to say, yeah, I've heard some of this before. It's very simple, but the challenge is following through. That's where the challenge, where the rubber meets the road. And again, my hallucination is all of you guys that are watching this are not where you want to be, or you wouldn't still be hungry and plugging into something. Okay, so last week we talked about overall generalities of what it takes to be successful during the holiday season. It comes down to more of your time management. And going into 2020, it comes down to choosing where you're devoting your time and being conscious of what you're doing with your time. As we've already talked about, the average person spends 4 to 6 hours a day on television. They spend 2 to 3 hours a day on social media. You're spending 2 to 3 hours eating. You're spending 8 hours sleeping. You're spending 8 hours at your job if you work somewhere, right? So when you back all that stuff down, it comes down to you maybe have an hour or two of actually doing something to change your life per day. So what I want you to be more conscious of is, could you back that time back? Could you go in and say, okay, I'm going to devote, no more than an hour a day to television over this next year. I'm going to spend no more than an hour a day on social media. I'm going to spend, the time that I'm actually commuting or the things that I'm actually doing in the car. I'm going to use that non-productive time and make it productive. So it's about being more conscious of time, and we can talk about that at a later point. I'm not going to spend time today on that, but that's what it came down to last week is, what are you focusing your time on? Okay, and how do you structure your time differently than those that have achieved millions and millions of dollars in income, billions of dollars in income? What do they do differently? And one of the things that I've identified over everything else is a sense of urgency, a sense of obsession, and how they manage their time. As I've said before, if you're already sleeping 8 hours a day, you're already working 8 hours a day, what are you doing with the other 8 hours left over to move your legacy forward, to build something amazing? So today's topic is going to be, what do you actually want? What do you actually want? And I'm going to ask you to think about that and that theme. By the way, I'm going to back something else up and talk about this, which is you guys should be taking notes. Now, I understand some of you guys are in your car, whatever else, you can't take notes. You guys should be taking notes. You've got a 30% increase in actually following through with something if you're taking notes. Not because, even if you don't go back to your notes ever again, you're locking it in your subconscious mind by doing one additional thing besides hearing it, actually taking notes. Don't get distracted. For 30 minutes with me, be present. That's all I'm asking you. Be present and take some notes, because I'm giving you guys homework every single week. Not a lot of work, but some homework. You guys spend even an hour on this week. So this whole week, right, this whole next 7 days, is I encourage you to focus at least 1 hour on some homework. And the important thing is taking some notes. I'm going to tell you guys what to write down. Okay, it's not that hard. I'm going to tell you what to write down. So today's topic is, what do you really want? And why is this important? Most people do not know what they want. And as my mentor taught me, if you don't know where you're going, you won't like where you end up. You have what are the stats? A 42% higher probability of achieving the goals you have for yourself, 42% higher probability by simply writing them down. By simply writing down what you actually want. The crazy thing is, most people, I use the analogy of, they're in a boat, go in the river with no oars, and whatever happens with that stream, whatever everyone else is doing around you, whatever social media does, whatever the news says, whatever your surroundings at work do, whatever your family and everybody else and your peers do, is we're in a boat with no oars. And the reality is, we won't like where we end up. If you don't know where you're going, again, you will not like where you end up in life. Do you guys follow me? If you don't know where you're going, you will not like where you end up. It's the same thing is true if you're going on vacation. If you don't know where you're going, and if you don't have a map, and more importantly, you don't have benchmarks to see that you're on the right path, you're not going to get where you want to go. And if you're off by even a couple of degrees, I always say success is basically a couple of millimeters. You're a couple of millimeters off from achieving all that you want in life. Use the analogy of a golf ball. Use the analogy of again, getting in a plane and going from here and going to Europe. If you're off by a couple of degrees, you're off by a long shot, right? So today's topic is, what do you really want? What do you really want? Next week, we're going to talk about the why. Why do you want it? And then the last week of this month, we're going to go into, right before the 31st, we're going to go into another topic, which is, how do you get there? How do you actually do it? And then we're going to have a huge kickoff party on the 6th of January, and we're going to put everything in motion. My goal is to get you guys, hopefully, if you really want it bad enough, I'm going to get you guys through the year of achieving your goals. But again, most people, 99% of people, dump their resolutions already by the 15th of January, give themselves excuses to bow out. My goal is not to have you do that. So how many of you guys are willing to plug into me and actually willing to do these activities every single week? I'm talking you can put as much time as you want into it. I put a lot of time into my end of year focuses and resolutions that I want to accomplish. But here's the ratios you want to focus on. Bree, if you wouldn't mind, type in the chat window. Here are the ratios. 20% of your energy should be focused on, what do you want? 20% of your time and your energy should be, what do I actually want? From that, 70% of your time should then be focused on, why do you want it? If you create a big enough reason why, you will either find a way or you'll create the way. I've seen this happen over and over and over again. Even when everything out there says it can't happen, it's not going to happen. You're not going to succeed. If you have a big enough reason why, I've watched people, when they get a brick wall, go over it, under it, through it, do whatever they have to do in order to get through that brick wall. That's a big enough reason why. So the ratio again is 20% on what do you want, 70% on why do you want it, and then the 10% is how. Now, what most people do is the exact wrong thing. They, in their mind, say, I want this. So, for example, if you want a certain body weight, if you want a certain amount of financial money in your bank, you want to make so much money, whatever you have as a goal, what most people do is they say, what do I want, for a little bit of time, and they immediately let their brain go into how. And the challenge is with the how is that it is the most boring part of it, number one. Number two is you have all of these references that will tell you why you're not going to accomplish it. And the how looks insurmountable, because you're relating. So for example, if you are making $60,000 a year right now, $60,000 a year at your job, and you set a goal and you talk to me about that goal, and that goal is to make $125,000 next year, or even getting crazier, the goal is to make $250,000 next year. What you do immediately is you say, your brain says, how am I going to accomplish that? And your brain says and relates how much work you had to do, 50 hours a week or whatever it is to get your $65,000 a year. And when you relate and you say, okay, now $250,000 in 2020 is my goal, your brain shuts off because you start focusing on how am I going to do it? And you're saying, I can't put in double as much time as I'm putting in. You're equating it to something, right? You're looking at the past references you have. So if you want to achieve everything you want in 2020, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. This week, only focus on what do you want. And there's going to be 4 buckets I'm going to talk about here in a bit. What do you really want to have happen in 2020? What is it? What is it? Don't at all let your brain deviate to the why and the how. Leave that alone for this week. 20% of your time and focus should be on what do you want. If you don't identify what you want accurately, what's going to happen is you're not going to achieve it anyway. Because your why isn't going to be strong enough and your how is not, you're not going to push through to figure out a way to do it. So focus your energy this week only on the what. Now, what I want you to do is picture three treasure chests, right? 3 treasure chests in your brain. And all of those treasure chests are open right now. What do you want? Why do you want it? And how do you want it? Take the why and the how and shut those and lock them for now. So when your brain starts going into this mode of how am I going to do it? How am I going to achieve this? You will be dead in the water before you even start. Write this down. I say this all the time. Once you get into your head, you're dead. And the how is your head. Right? Once you get into your head, you are dead. Once you start focusing on the how and you don't have everything else taken care of, the what and the why, you're done. You've got to do step 1 before you go to step 2. And step 1 is, what do you actually want? What do you want in 2020? You've got to laser focus with as much identity and as much detail as you possibly can for what you actually want in these 4 areas I'm going to talk about here in a bit. We're then going to take those 4 areas and help you next week with creating a big enough reason why to push through and eat glass if you have to get there, where you'll do anything you've got to do mentally to get to that point. Then we're going to focus on how you're going to do it. Fair enough? Does that sound good, guys? So let's talk about this and we'll cover some other things as well. So first of all, why do most people either not make resolutions or not set goals? I'm looking in the chat window why you guys think most people, or let me ask you, if you are kind of half-assing this every single year, why do you not set resolutions for your body, your health, your finances, amazing things for your family or giving? Why do you not do those things now? Why have you given up? And most of you guys have given up. You can lie all you want. Most of you have hated, have stopped even trying to set resolutions. Why is that? Looking in the chat window for your comments. And while we're thinking about that, like why you've given up, I want you to understand how the human brain works. The human brain is, again, a million years old in evolution, right? And the brain is simply designed, especially the conscious brain, the conscious mind is designed to keep you away from pain, right? Look at the notes here. Afraid of failing. You nailed it, Stephen Frisbee. Bree, fear of failure. Dennis, fear of failure. I mean, you guys are all hitting this right dead on. Okay? Is your brains to keep you away from pain. Failing is pain. And I use this example as how many of you guys got out of college and high school and said, let me go world, let me be average? How many of you guys wanted to be average? Right? How many of you guys actually wanted to be average? You had all these goals and these dreams, these aspirations, whether you were in college or out of college, or when you went to go propose to your significant other, you talked about, and you're sitting there talking about the dreams and what could be possible. You're talking about all these amazing things. What happens? What happens is we don't achieve our goal, and that's painful. What's even worse is we make a public declaration, we share it with a loved one, we share it with people that are around us, or worse yet, we share it with social media. And now what happens is when we don't accomplish it, it feels painful. Some of you guys that are part of our body, the inner circle, right? Part of the the body, unlimited energy, our Facebook group. Why do you not post? Because you're letting yourself off the hook and you don't want to post it because other people are seeing it. That is painful, and our brain is meant to keep us away from pain. We don't like being on the hot seat. We don't like having people look at us, and even worse yet, ourselves look at us in the mirror and realize we're not accomplishing our goals. So what we do is either we don't set any resolutions, we don't set any goals each year, or we set them so low because oh man, I don't know if I can do that, so let me set it really low. That happens, or even worse yet, is we set goals that are so much out of potential expectation of what's possible or what's probable that we know we're going to fail. Our goal is to get you the in-between. Our goal is to stretch you but not break you. That's our goal. And I'll use this as an anchor, something that I use. And by the way, we're going to talk next week about how you guys can get one of these. I'll ship one of these out to you. But it says build your legacy on one side, professionals network on the other side. On the inside of this, you can't see it, but it's on the inside. I can feel it right here. And it says just outside your comfort zone. Success is just outside your comfort zone. I keep this on. I've had it on for a couple of months now, several months now. And what this is for, if I take this and I set a goal and I keep stretching really, really far, that rubber band's going to break. I'm not going to accomplish my goal. I'm going to break mentally, emotionally. I'm going to break. So the goal is to every single month build momentum upon momentum, set new habits, and we're going to talk about those habits in 2020. So you're building like a muscle, some momentum into this versus this haphazard shit where you're trying to accomplish. I want to lose weight. I want to get to the gym. I want to make more money. And you don't know how to do it, right? So my goal is with you guys is to help you stretch but not break you, to stretch every single month. See this, if you guys know, I've got kind of big wrists. And this is actually getting loose, right? And it's getting loose because every time in my mind, I feel a hesitation, I will just basically use this as an anchor and I'll stretch this a little bit. It will never go back to the original shape. A rubber band will never go back to the original shape. So the goal is to stretch with what you want, not break you. So for example, if the most you've ever made is $250,000 in a year, or if most you've ever made is $20,000 in a year, you don't want to take that 10 times in 2020. Not saying you can't do it. I would never have reservations to tell you that you can't accomplish things because I have grown my business. I have grown my income up to 10 times in a year, actually up to 15 times in a year before. I'm saying that the worst case scenario is you're going to blow past it. Okay, so set a goal that's going to push you but not break you. Do you guys follow me? Looking in the chat window here. Tom Bruitz, I don't care how much time you're putting in. We can talk about that later. The goal that you have right now is to laser focus on one piece of all of these ingredients. That focus is what do I want? What do I truly want? And the areas we're going to focus on right now is this. And here's your assignment here is number one, the body. So write that down, take a note, or type in the chat window. Number one is the body. So what do you want for your body as far as your goals and your energy levels in 2020? Now, we're going to talk about digging deeper, and there's two things here. One is, what do I want? And number two is, what do I really want? Okay, so write those down. What do I want, and what do I really want? So you can say that I want to lose 20 pounds, but that's not going to motivate you to get up early and go to the gym. Stay up late and go to the gym. You don't feel like it, go to the gym. Go for a mile walk every single day or 5 mile walk, or keep pushing yourself. That's not going to motivate you. It's a fucking look like look in the mirror and look amazing and feel confident and comfortable. That is what motivates you, right? That is what you truly want. Don't write down the fluffy shit that everybody else thinks that you want or that you hear everybody else wants. Write down not just what you want, what do you really want with your body? What do you really want? And spend, at least 15, 20 minutes on that topic. What do I really want? And don't ever let your brain focus on how you're going to do it. Don't focus on any of that right now. Keep those treasure chests closed and locked. When your brain starts deviating, say, no, that shit's locked. No, that's locked. No, that's locked. Focus on what do I want and what do I really want? Okay, on your body. Because if you don't have your health, you've got nothing. I know people that have a lot of money and they can't even enjoy it. For you to accomplish your goals, build a legacy, be around for your kids, your grandkids, you've got to have the energy level. You've got to have your body. And you've got to figure out what you truly want. So what are your goals in 2020? In 2020, what are your goals? What do you want? I want you to write those down. You've got to come back to me next week with this. And we're going to give away some prizes for you guys that did this and are going to type in the chat window when I ask each of these topics what you wrote down. Okay? Number 2 is money and investments. By the end of 2020, what do you want for money? What do you want for your investments? What do you want those to look like? Okay, what do you want when it comes to money and investments? It can't just be a generality. I want to, $5 million to $1 million, whatever. It's got to be a set number. How much money do you have in the bank December 31st, 2020? How much money do you have invested in passive income at the end of 2020? That's what I'm looking for, is an exact number that you have in the bank, an exact number you have invested by December 31st, 2020. And we're going to create some incantations, some affirmations, create some anchors, do all the things I know in the toolbox to help you get this done. The thing is, my goal is to get you off of centerline, get you off of centerline. So centerline can also be the fence. I want you to either fail or succeed. I don't want you to sit on the fence. If you fail, you're going to learn, you're going to move forward with it. I want you to fail faster. I want you to figure this shit out faster. My goal is, I don't care how we get you there. My goal is that you achieve your goals in 2020. Okay? So the body, your money and investments. Number 3 is you need some reward goals. Some goals that are going to motivate you, potentially motivate your family as well. What are some reward goals? Right? I don't care if it's a lease of a brand new Mercedes-Benz end of 2020. I don't care if it's taking a vacation you've been holding off. I don't care what it is. Something's going to motivate you to push through shit. Okay, so what are your goals within 2020? And pick a deadline. We're going to go take family trip to Disney October of 2020 and have all the money necessary to pay for it and enjoy it. Whatever it is, what are the goals you have that are going to motivate you? The play goals, I call them. Right? The fun goals. That's going to reward you. That's going to make you, it's not about getting the car. It's not about taking the trip. It's about who you become and what's going to motivate you to get up early in the morning and stay up late at night. What are those goals? And then number 4 is I want what your giving goals are. Giving. That means that to your church. That means to those around you. That means to people in your family. What are you going to give? Because if you do not have, let me back this up. You can say that, people like me focus on money a lot, and I do, because I know that I've got a price to pay in life. I've got a price for my family. I've got a price for my legacy. And depending on your lifestyle and what you want, if you want to suck the hind tit or if you want to actually enjoy yourself, you're going to have a higher or lower price. I've got a very high price on what I want. I've got very high expectations. I've got very, outlandish, crazy, hairy, big, audacious goals that I want to accomplish. And so I know I've got a high price for that. But I also know that I can't, if you're focusing on living off of $50,000 a year, for example, for most of you in your household, which is the average of $54,000, whatever the number is you can't give a hell of a lot. You're keeping this into your family because you've got to survive. That's obviously your first objective. Your first goal is to support your family. I'm talking about, what are your goals for giving? To having a lot more, to being a meat eater in this world so you can give others meat. You can supply others food and shelter and do amazing things for people. Is it something you want to do internationally, in Africa, or feed some hungry people here in the U.S., whether it be for your, giving presents away to 200 kids next year? I don't care what it is. What is going to motivate you? And what I've learned is this: nothing motivates you more than being able to give. For me, nothing makes me happier than to give. Now, why is all this important? Why is it important? You may say, well, why do I need to focus on all 4 of these? I want to focus on money. That's it. I want to focus on my health. That's it. No, you cannot do that. I will tell you why. What you do in one thing, you do in all things. If you're a messy person, you're going to be messy in everything. If you're a procrastinator, you're a procrastinator in everything. If you're not following through, you're late, you're going to be late in everything. You've got to have all 4 of these areas having a goal set. You've got to have at least one big, amazing, stretching you, not breaking you goal for 2020 in all 4 of these areas. Again, your health of your body, your wealth, so your finances, your investments. You've got to have something huge as far as your motivating goal that you're going to have in 2020 for your fun goal. And number 4, your giving goal. You've got to have all 4 of these areas, because something else I will tell you point blank, and tell me if this is not true. I look at every single thing out there, and I will tell you what makes you happy. I've figured all this out, right? What makes me happy? What makes me happy is not going on an amazing vacation to Cabo like we did last year. What makes me happy is not, getting the brand new Escalade that I just got. What makes me happy is not having $5 million in the bank. What makes me happy is not making $5,000 a day. What makes me happy is progress. That's what makes me happy, is progress, seeing movement in the right direction. Most of us, tell me if this is not true, most of us for the last 5 years have been like this, right? That's what most of us the last 5 years, ebbing and flowing. That's the way most of us have done the last 5 years. What I'm talking about is every single area compounding one success over the next success. For me, each year, I don't hit every single thing I have as targets. Some might blow out of the water, some I don't quite hit, but I'm always moving forward. I'm always making progress in my body. Right now, I'm looking at getting rid of this a little bit and getting my six-pack back. Getting all my body where it needs to be to have the energy that I need to get back to sleeping 4.5, 5 hours a night and feeling amazing all day long. Those are things that I know but if I'm not making progress, I'm not saying you've arrived, because you'll never arrive. I mean, how long does the trip or the car or the giving, how long does that last? Typically a day, a week, a month, very seldom longer than a year. What lasts, though, is this feeling of progress. When you see people that are depressed, it's typically because they're not seeing progress in their life. So my goal is to help you make progress. So let me just boil this down. We've got about 4 minutes left, which is this. Your assignment this week is to shut the why, shut the how, and only focus on what do you want. What do you want for your body in 2020? What do you want for your finances? What do you want for a fun goal? And what do you want for your giving goal? And I want to find things that get you motivated. Now, again, I'm going to give you guys an assignment. This is the bare minimum. The more you spend, the more clearly identified. Now, again, I'm going to say this again. If you write it down, you are 40, what's the number of stats here? 42% more likely to achieve and get what you want if you write it down. Setting a goal. Tony Robbins says something here, which is, if you talk about it, it's a dream. If you envision it, it's possible. But if you schedule it, it's real. We're going to schedule this out for 2020 and create an actual plan. So the end of this month, we're doing something called a MAP, which is your massive action plan. Your massive action plan to where you're going to become obsessed to accomplish these things in 2020. We're going to create so much momentum behind it and so much of a support group around it that you're going to have every single thing hitting you, the carrot and the stick, at all times. I want you guys to have the life you dreamt about, the life that you wanted to have in your early, teens and 20s. The things you sat in the car and didn't know, you didn't have these references of, I can't do this because of this, these excuses. You didn't have any of those things. Again, how many of you were born and they said, this person's successful, this person has everything they've ever always dreamed, this person's timid, you were born with a clean slate like everybody else had. All this shit going through your head is because of experiences. It's not who you are. It's not your identity. The past does not equal the future. And 2020 is the start of a brand new decade. And this is your decade to achieve everything you've wanted. It's going to take work. It's not easy. It's again, this simple. It's not easy because you're going to push against the fear, the brain that's going to try shutting off, the brain that's going to fight against you. You're going to do it anyway. And we're going to teach you how to do it. Thank you guys. Appreciate your time. Don't miss next week. Share this with everybody that you know. And so we can build some momentum around this group of people that are unstoppable in 2020. Thank you guys. Appreciate you. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.